Welcome to the Lessons Learned for Vets podcast page. My name is Lori Norris, and I created this show for you. I want this show to serve as a source of advice and guidance as you navigate the military transition path. I want you to know that you're not alone with what you're going through, and I want you to know that there is only one right way to transition out of the military, and that is the way that you choose to do it. We're just here to help smooth the path ahead of you and advise you about any bumps in the road that you might come across. So if you enjoy this video, please give us a like, subscribe to our page, and I encourage you to go to your favorite podcast provider and listen to the full episode of this show. You can also visit our website at www.ll4forvets.com. I promise you will get some great information. Well, if you haven't listened to the full podcast episode with Sarah Ostrowski yet, you need to head to your favorite podcast provider and hear her episode because she really helps to tie together her military skills to what she's doing today, which on the surface looks very different from the Army to the Walt Disney Company, but it is very relevant. So thank you for sharing all of that with us, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So one of the things we mentioned in the episode is that you started as a global intelligence and threat analyst, and now you are the manager of global intelligence and threat analysis. So you have been promoted already within your first year. I think it was actually within 6 months of being at the company. And one of the things you told us in the episode is that you went in with saying, I really don't know how to use these skills in the corporate world. And obviously you're very good at it because you've already been promoted. So let's talk about what has been the key to your success in the private sector, in the corporate world, using these skills.
Man, I wish I had kind of the secret recipe or the secret sauce for success, right? For me, I took the analyst role understanding that I still had a lot to learn. I didn't understand the private sector, how the corporations operate. And so I was giving myself quite a bit of grace to, step away from company command and move into an analyst role where I would focus on just being an analyst. And in some way, I thought about my soldiers and I thought, they're probably more qualified to do a lot of this than I am as an intelligence analyst. I'm doing more manager things as an officer and they're focused on really just digging into their craft and their skill. And so I saw the role for an analyst and I thought this is a good opportunity to learn and to just jump in. And so I did, and I took that role. And while I was there, I started to notice relationship gaps and other areas that could use improvement or use some structure. And so I kind of just took it upon myself of, hey, I think I'm really lacking in certain areas, but these other areas I'm really good at. And so I tried to showcase to the team almost to prove my value of hey, I can be value added to you guys. I can be helpful. And these are the ways I could do it. And it kind of just took off. But I will say it was really driven by a sense of curiosity. I wanted to understand how we operated in the greater, as a corporate entity in the greater enterprise, what those relationships looked like, how we could improve those relationships, what the gaps on other teams were. And so I reached out to so many people in the beginning and just gave them a platform and a space to be tell me your story and how we can make it better or how you would like to make it better. And I want to try to strive for that. And, I just kept having those conversations and building those relationships and on the side, using skills I had learned from the military, crafting SOPs, building training plans, helping other analysts. And I started to realize wow, maybe I actually do know more than I thought I did initially, I came in as the analyst of Asia Pacific, and I spent almost my entire career in the Middle East or looking at the Middle East. And so I was wow, I've got a lot of ground to make up for, But, and so while I was kind of learning about that, I started to produce these other products that helped optimize our internal systems and processes and talk to some of the other leaders there. And what you start to realize is a lot of those leaders that you work with in the private sector, they don't have the same type of leadership experience that we do in the military. From day one, whether you're enlisted, whether you're an officer, you're put in a very dynamic situation, and it just kind of starts to build from there. And after a while, what you accept as normal is not necessarily normal, right? You're on an accelerated trajectory of leadership and just like this big organization with this wheel turning. So I was able to take a lot of that and apply it and show it to my peers and have those conversations and say, hey, I don't know it all, but what if we could make it better? How would it look? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? Here's what I think. And then we'd come together.
Just to kind of summarize, it sounds like first and foremost, the first step you had to take is put your ego aside to take an analyst role as opposed to a leadership role, right? And realize that I know that I have been at a command level, I've been at that officer level, that leadership level, but I need to learn this new kind of world, if you are, this new operating zone, and from the start. And so you took a step back, and, my finger quotes there, in terms of your career, in order to really propel you forward. And then you took your knowledge and your leadership skills that you had naturally built in the military and showcased what you could do, which helped propel your career forward, right?
Absolutely.
You've actually jumped more than one level, right?
Yes. So I came in as an analyst, skipped over senior analyst, and came in right to a manager position. The military is really great about saying, we're going to tear you down to build you up, right? They say that all the time, but they are really great at the tearing you down part. They're really bad about the building you up part. And so a lot of us are left wondering, what am I actually doing? What are my skills? What am I good at? What do I even like to do outside of my normal day-to-day job? And I remember when I was in that position, I was thinking, like, has my success in the military strictly been just me riding on the coattails of my soldiers' successes, like their accomplishments? Like, what have I done as an individual to really earn or prove my spot here? And that really ate at me. And I'm sure it eats at a lot of people, like, what am I actually good at? And so I thought me taking this analyst role, which was such a blessing, and it was an opportunity that I was willing to just move forward on. I thought, okay, this is where I'm going to reinvent myself and learn something new, but hopefully be able to take some skills I learned before. But then once I got in the role, I realized, wow, there's a lot that I can leverage and utilize here that I just didn't know about. How to build teams, how to build relationships, how to create better systems and functions for what we're already doing, how to advocate for that and explain what I'm doing in the language that others need to hear that.
And I think that just makes you a natural fit for a management role, and know that they will recognize it. They will see the value as you continue to strive and expand your knowledge. So sometimes you do have to take a step back to take 2 steps forward, like you did. And I think anyone that's listening needs to really think about the right path is not always straight, right? So sometimes it's a windy road, and it's you can change, right? And if you heard Sarah's message in the podcast itself, is that you can pivot at any time. So thank you so much for sharing that with us, Sarah.
Of course, thank you.
Hey, thank you for watching the video today. Have you subscribed to our channel yet? Did you leave us a comment? Have you listened to the full episode of the podcast on your favorite podcast provider? We sure would appreciate it if you would do all of these things to support us today.